welcome everyone, but this is a meeting of the commission. And so we ask for no outbursts while the commissioners are meeting and deliberating during the meeting.
Well, thank you so much. And if I may, if I'm incorrect, Jennifer, you would correct me too. As I understand, every city council meeting does have the ability for the public to weigh in before the meeting begins. Is that correct?
So if you have items that are public hearings that have to be advertised, and we have a citizens participation period, which also occurs during the council meeting.
Right, and people have to sign up for it in advance. So I just wanted to give people that information. Then when this does go to council to be, for council to vote on it, I'm assuming that there will be an opportunity for the public to weigh in. So with all that said, thank you all for being here. I see that we're recording this, so call to order is item number 1. The minutes were sent out, and I commend you, Philip Clapper, for those incredible minutes that you sent. Very intensive. Are there any changes to the minutes? Do people have any, would anyone like to make a motion regarding the minutes, or are there changes?
Hello, Harlan?
Wilmot, we can hear you.
Yes, I did have one change regarding my remarks near the end of the minutes. I think they're in the second to the last paragraph of the minutes.
Is that on page 11? Yep.
And the minutes, I believe, read that some people were around at the same time as Calhoun. It meant that what I meant to say, or what should have been said, was that Calhoun was around at the time. Oh my goodness, I've got to refer back to the.
I mean, I've got the minutes here, Wilmot. I think I've got the sentence.
How
They read, the populace needed to have a clearer idea about who they were in America, I think it should be, as Americans, sorry, with all of the varied stripes they might have had, some of whom existed at the same time as Frederick Douglass. Both.
No, correction. Not some of whom, but Calhoun existed.
Okay, Calhoun, okay.
Yeah, Calhoun existed at the same time.
Gotcha. So I think it was just a transcription effort. I can see how Calhoun.
Yeah. It was Calhoun existed at the same time as Frederick Douglass. In fact, if I can expand on that, as Frederick Douglass and David Walker.
Right. With all due respect, Wilmot, I think we're at the point where we're just, I would love to hold this time.
I'm just saying that Calhoun existed. There were figures, African-American spokespeople who were speaking at that time, and that was what I was trying to convey.
Sure. I'm going to read the sentence now to see if it makes sense. So this is on page 11, the third paragraph from the bottom. The populace needed to have a clearer idea about who they were as Americans. I think we should make that as with an S, with all the varied stripes they might have had. Period, I guess. Calhoun existed at the same time as Frederick.
Yeah.
Right, both were Americans. So we've got that emendation. And again, I think, Philip, these were incredible minutes. Are there any other emendations to the minutes that people want to make as a motion? Well, hearing none and seeing no hands up, if we could have a motion that we accept the minutes.
I move.
Second. Do we have a second? Is there any other discussion? Well, thank you all. So can we show either by holding our hands or unmuting ourselves and saying yes, that if we approve the minutes? I will say yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Are there any nays for the minutes? Okay, that might make it easier. Okay, so I think the minutes are approved, which now takes us to agenda item 2, which is, sorry, that was agenda item 2, approval of the minutes. Called to order was number 1. The John C. Calhoun monument request is our old business now coming up before us. There's been a lot of discussion about this. I do want to say, as point of information, from what I understand, is I think the options available to us this afternoon are to either vote, either say yes or no, or defer. But I do want to bring the point forward that, as far as I understand it, regardless of what we do today, this item will be brought up to the city council in January. I believe I'm correct in saying that. So I just wanted y'all to know that regardless of what we do, whether we say yes or no or defer, that I do think it will be coming before city council in January.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Rosen.
I think it'd be good for the people who are on, who maybe missed what you said, that the public has an opportunity to address city council. In other words, I know there's some feeling that people maybe wanted to get heard today that cannot be, but the fact of the matter is people will have an opportunity to express their opinion to city council.
Exactly right. What I was trying to say earlier, and if I can backtrack a little bit, the reason that there's no input this, from I understand, is the possibility of Zoom bombing. And that has, despite what people may think, that has been the practice for quite some time. It is not a new practice that has been created for this meeting. That has been city policy. But when this item does come up to city council, and I'm sure city staff will correct me if I'm incorrect, there is about a third or fourth agenda item. There is a half an hour given to public input. People have to sign up beforehand to discuss an issue that's on that day's agenda. And depending on how many people sign up, it's my understanding that that's how much time is left. If 30 people sign up for the 30 minutes, each one has a minute, that kind of thing as well. So for y'all who are attending from the public, don't feel that your voice is going to be unheard or unlistened to. And it's city council that will be making the ruling on this. We are here just to recommend. Will that do, Robert?
That's fine.
And Mr. Chairman, I might also add too, we have a virtual option where people cannot attend the meeting or speak at the meeting. They can leave comments as well for the council members. So that will be another option where people can comment.
Right. And as you
I do hope you'll allocate more than 30 minutes for the call-in, though.
I doubt it.
Or for the presentation for anybody who wants to speak. I hope it'll be more than 30 minutes.
I doubt it.
Well, again, I think
It should be. This is very important.
I still doubt it.
Again, I'm not sure that's something that we have an impact on. We're just a committee. It'd be like we're the tail wagging the dog, and But so, is there discussion? Does anyone want to bring a motion forward regarding what we discussed at last meeting? People from Los Angeles are here if there are other questions, and they will only answer if people have other questions.
I have a question, Colin.
Sure, we'll do Wilmot first, and then Angela Mack.
Hello?
Yeah, Wilmot, we can hear you. Go ahead.
My question to the curators from Laxart is whether they consider the efforts to manage the narrative regarding the Calhoun statute an infringement on academic freedom.
Oh, no, not at all. This, as I mentioned at, okay, good. Just want to make sure my microphone was on.
We can see you and hear you.
At the first meeting, we're looking for partners in this exhibition. And it isn't simply a question of just borrowing the object as a formal loan, and that's the end of the relationship. So in another instance, we're borrowing a monument, for example, from a very prominent family in North Carolina. And they are being given full rights to remove the monument if they feel as though anything untoward is being, it's being contextualized in an untoward manner, or they don't agree with any of the text, or it's put next to something that they don't like. So we'd like to extend that same level of participation and cooperation to the city of Charleston. So I don't consider it an infringement at all. And I want that input to make the show better.
Thank you. So Angela?
Yes, Mr. Walker, it's nice to see you again. And I know Ms. Bernstein is on the call as well. So just a very quick question. I thought the proposal answered all of the questions that I requested at the last meeting. So thank you very much for addressing many of those questions. I do have a couple of questions about the way in which the monument is going to be presented. So I don't know that any of us on the commission, maybe some do, I don't, have any sense of its condition at the moment and how it's being stored. So my question to you is this, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the company, Methods and Materials. Are they in a position to handle the piece in such a way that it can be propped back up again? Or is the plan to show it as it is now, since it was decommissioned? What are y'all's thoughts on that?
To answer the first question, Methods and Materials is completely able to, if we had to make some kind of base in order to accommodate, to have it stand upright, they're completely able to in terms of equipment, to accommodate that. So that's to the first one.
And go ahead.
Oh, to the second part, in terms of its display, I haven't gotten that far along in the exhibition to determine whether or not it would be, leaned or on a base proper. I mean, more likely it'll be, on some kind of temporary base that can support it, right? Depending on what that footing does. So
right. Okay. So it would be put back up essentially at ground level.
At ground level, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean,
so that people can actually see it for the first time close up, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that struck me, I was when I was in Baltimore, I was taken to the site where they're storing the four monuments they've taken down, and it's a very simple thing, but obviously when they're up on a plinth, you don't have a sense, your sense of scale and relationship to them is wholly different when these things are, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet off the ground. When the monuments are placed at ground level, that's an entirely different engagement with them. You share the same ground plane with them. And it's quite interesting in terms of, what that invests them with another order, I would say, of monumentality as it relates to you, right? In a very literal and kind of visceral fashion, as opposed to them being monuments in the categorical understanding of them as being these things statuary on a pedestal. So
right. So Mr. Walker, this is my last question. So after the show is over and the objects are returned to the municipalities or the owners, could the temporary stand or base that's created for the monument, and you know this as well as I do, a lot of times when institutions borrow works from other institutions and the work requires conservation, the borrowing institution often pays for that.
Exactly.
Sure. So would it be possible for that stand or the way in which it's presented at ground level could then come back to the city of Charleston?
Absolutely. It'd be yours.
Right, okay. I wanted to make that clear because I'm not sure that a lot of people on this commission understand how museums work. And when you borrow something, that normally it comes back in a better shape than
Leave it
when
better
it
than-
went off.
Yeah, leave it better than you found it.
You take it and you bring it back in better shape. And that could be very important to this city with regards to how this monument is used in the future.
Sure.
For those who have been discussing that conversation for quite some time.
I'll recognize you, Robert. If I can just ask one quick question, Mr. Walker. So there will be, I think we discussed that last time, there will be a condition report to basically tell us that the statue is in need of this, and if it were borrowed, it would not be exhibited unless it was conserved into a good enough condition that it could withstand the exhibition. Although I will say it did survive Hugo, so I'm assuming.
And I would encourage the city of Charleston to have someone assist Lax Art with the conservation report. So that, because normally what you do is the lending institution creates a condition report, and then the borrowing institution creates its own condition report when the work arrives at that location. So it would behoove the city of Charleston to do its own condition report so that it has that documentation with regards to the object. And then the same happens on the back end.
Absolutely. So this, just to let everybody know, in terms of museum protocols, that's absolutely, standard operating procedure. Right. So it will be done, it will be handled, insured wall to wall, venue to venue, and treated like any other work of art. So,
and I imagine, Mr. Walker, if anyone in Charleston or someone associated with the city who wanted to make sure that the work arrived safely could actually travel with it on the truck if they like.
Sure, that is not unheard of in terms of sending
that is true.
An agent from the lending institution to the borrowing institution to oversee the unpacking of the work, the hanging of the work, and to do a condition report when it arrives. That's perfectly standard procedure, not unheard of. So,
we
are totally willing to entertain that. That is not at all a problem.
Okay. This is standard, as Mr. Walker said, this is standard procedure with museums, standard procedure.
Right.
We have entertained numerous curators and conservators and scholars all across the country who have come with the pieces that they have lent to the Gibbs.
Right. They often fly, I understand, like in a seat.
They do.
But I guess if this is loaned, it's not going to fly.
Some travel on the truck. It's required by their museum.
So I see we have a hand up from Michael Allen, but Robert Rosen wanted to say something first. So Robert, you, and then we'll go to Michael Allen. Okay.
I also wanted to speak, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Sorry. So sorry, I didn't realize that, Wilmot. So if that's okay with you, Wilmot, we'll do Robert, Michael, and then you.
I just wanted to say to Mr. Walker that I appreciate his efforts, and I'm happy to hear that Angela is interested in the base, because it sounds like maybe the Gibbs is going to be anxious to take the statue. And Mr. Walker, would you be willing to work with Angela and the Gibbs? Because that would be really a great thing to have the Calhoun Monument at the Gibbs, where it could be interpreted and Charlestonians could come and see it. So Angela, I'm thrilled to hear that y'all are interested.
And Robert Rosen, I'll say, has a wonderful garden where it could be
absolutely,
which it could be a nice addition to as well. And it would be tall enough to sit over the wall.
I'm sure that Mr. Rosen has access to numerous courthouses that could also do the same thing.
Mr. Walker, you've enjoyed working with Angela Mack at the Gibbs, have you not? And don't you think that would be a great place to return the monument to? And you'd be willing to work with us on that, would you not?
Yes, of course.
Good. Well, all right. Well, good. So we've solved
So
the
no
problem.
no
The mayor has
foundlings,
been
no
concerned about.
no foundlings left at doorsteps. But anyways, the next one is Michael Allen. Michael.
Well, actually, I had something else I wanted.
Okay, sorry.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Walker and Hannah Bernstein for their letter and appreciate their talking to Mr. Brown and allaying some of the concerns that we've had. And I just wanted to say that I appreciated your letter very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So is that you're done, Robert?
Done. Thank you.
Okay, Michael Allen, please.
Yeah, I just want to say, Mr. Walker, I too want to join in with others and your willingness to work with us today in this endeavor. I know we may have asked a lot of you. Number one, at times it may have kind of got trying and testy, but somehow I think that's the nature of Charleston. So if you did not know that, sir, now you know. To my good friend Robin, this for you also, Mr. Walker, it's ironic that we're making this challenging decision on John C. Calhoun in the month of December, when you know as well that also in the month of December, this state also made a challenging decision back in 1860. This may not have been as controversial what they did in 1860, but just as consequential. So I just want to say I'm grateful that you are willing to work with us, and you don't see it as robbery, as we say here in the South, to allow us to have some infusion into how this is going to shape and how this is going to appear with the other monuments across the nation. And I remember distinctly saying that the last time we spoke that this is a very sensitive matter, and that we were unsure of how we as commissioners would react to it, as well as the Low Country. And in some respects, I think we are back, Robert, in December of 1860. So I just want to say, for the record, that I look forward to working with you all. I've worked nearly 4 decades with the National Park Service, so I understand exhibits, displays, waysides, and text and graphics, which sometimes can be challenging in themselves. But I think that we are more than willing to do what's necessary. However, I don't want this to be done in a manner that's not telling the real story. I've heard, from a number of individuals and have seen things written that they don't want John C. Calhoun to be hurt, damaged, or injured. That's not our position or place. Our responsibility as the History Commission is to tell the truth and to bring the facts and to educate and inform the citizens, not only of the Low Country, but the nation. And so that should not be any way, shape, or form in the work that we do, in the text that we pull together, but it should be what the history has guided us and showed us. So I just want to put that on the record right now.
Great.
Thank you, Michael. And I'll be the pedant and say, wait, the footnote was December was secession, December, I think, 1860. But the next one we have up is Wilmot Fraser. And because we have so many people on here with 2 screens, that after Wilmot speaks, I'll ask if anyone else has something, because I can't see everyone at the same time to see if they've got a raised hand or anything. So Wilmot.
Thank you, Harlan. I simply wanted to mention to the curators, Mr. Walker and Ms. Bernstein, that I reviewed the bibliography that you submitted along with the explanatory material concerning how the statue would be treated in your exhibition. And it occurred to me that there were very few statements in literature from African-American scholars or spokespeople. Are you familiar with David Walker's appeal?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
David Walker resided for some time in Charleston in the early 19th century, and later left and went to Boston, where he authored an appeal which called for general rebellion against enslavement. At the same time that Calhoun was preaching slavery forever and nullification. We found out how that turned out in the greatest of all American slave revolts, the Civil War. But we're going to find out, I think we're going to be able to find out more about how those ideas have transisted over time when your exhibition begins to circulate around the country. So I'm very happy that we've been able to find some sort of accommodation with the commission, and it seems prepared to recommend the loan to the city council, which of course has the final say in the name of the people of Charleston. So I wanted to mention that book, David Walker's Appeal, to you, and also recommend the work of someone who was contemporary with the statue, a relative of mine, Mamie Garvin Fields, who wrote along with Karen Fields, Dr. Karen Fields, her granddaughter, a book called Lemon Swamp and Other Places. And Lemon Swamp and Other Places narrates how she felt as the Calhoun statue was being erected, and what the attitudes were of the local community, particularly the African-American community, regarding that statue and its erection. So I think those two works are definitely essential to your bibliography, and that you should note also the long history of rebellion by African Americans in South Carolina against the slavery institution, the institution of slavery from 1789, prior to the American Revolution. So those two things I wanted to say, and I wanted to add that our discussion in this commission seemingly has generated a lot of public interest. I'm always glad when there's public interest.
Okay, all right, Wilmot, thank you. And again, I'm looking at both screens to see if anybody has any more questions for.
Arlen, can you hear me?
Yes, Wilmot, I saw that you had muted yourself again. Are you done?
No, I guess my phone is acting.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
Did you get my comment regarding Lemon Swamp and Other Places?
Oh yeah, Lemon Swamp, yeah, and the appeal. No, we heard until just a second ago when you muted yourself. So I do believe your comments were there and heard by everyone, and part of the recording as well too.
There is one other item that I wanted to make sure people were aware of. The public has started to chime in on this issue, and there was in this morning's paper, yesterday morning's paper, December 14th, a letter from a Mr. James M. Davis of Mount Pleasant regarding the Calhoun Narrative that I would like to read into the record. A Sunday editorial wanted to know what precisely the curators of LaxArt, an independent nonprofit art space in Los Angeles, would say about John C. Calhoun's statue that it seeks to borrow for a temporary exhibit. Evidently, the museum wants Charleston's History Commission to approve its request to borrow the statue now that it has been removed from Marion Square. A member of the commission wants to know more about who would write the narrative for the proposed exhibit, and the Post and Courier wants the commission to see the text of the narrative before sending the statue. If the city is going to let the statue go so that it can be the teaching tool Charleston Mayor John Tecklenburg wants it to be, then let it go so it can fend for itself in the marketplace of ideas. Otherwise, let it stay, and the city should write the narrative and decide where to put the statue permanently. Calhoun would have taken equal, the word equal, out of the Declaration of Independence. He was slavery's champion and the author of nullification. So don't be his champion or contend for balance. Don't put Charleston in line for the criticism Calhoun has earned. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilmot. So you've muted yourself again. So I'm assuming that does what Mr. Walker, did you want to say anything, or Ms. Burstyn?
Yes, Lemon Swamp and other places is on. We have it on radar, and I think, and if I'm not mistaken, Hannah, I think we may have been talking about it on Monday, but just came up, so I'm familiar with that one now.
Glad to hear that.
Okay, so I don't see anyone else's hand up. So do we have?
I have
Angela.
one.
Oh, sorry, Angela. Sorry.
My hand's
Just
up.
one.
Dale.
Okay, and Dale. Sorry, I see it now. So I don't know who was first. Sorry, I was flicking over to the other screen to see if anyone else was up. Can we let Dale go first, Angela?
Of course.
Well, mine is more of a procedural question at this point. What is the plan for this meeting as far as this discussion related to motions?
Well, I'm assuming that, like I said, we're having discussion now. I'm, as I think I said at the very beginning, does anyone have a motion to make regarding anything about approving this, disapproving this, or deferring? I think, and again, I'm not trying to put words in the mouths of the members of the commission, but I'm assuming those are the options that we have.
I understand that.
We
I
can
didn't know
decide
that
no.
you were-
But again, it's up to the commission to, for someone to make a motion. And my thought that this initial information is still, this initial part is still information gathering.
That's fine. Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman, I would move that the Commission on History vote to recommend the loan of the Calhoun statue by the city of Charleston to the Lax Art Museum for the purposes stated.
Okay, so Wilmot, I think as a matter of procedure, so we can do that as a motion. I would like to let Angela speak first, and then we will bring that motion up, and then we can say if we have a second or not, and then we can discuss it, okay? But
Well, I've made the motion, so if there's a second, there should be, Angela will have.
right, but
That's
I do-
fine. I can
Okay.
wait.
Okay, Angela can wait. So is there a second for Mr. Wilmot's?
There's
Okay,
a
so we-
second for Michael Allen.
Okay, so now we have a discussion. So if people want to discuss, I'll try to, okay, everyone. So Dale, do you still have your hand up, or is it left up from before?
I do still have my hand up, and I'm prepared to make a statement.
Okay, so as far as I know, I see Dale's and David, and again, I'm trying to go to both screens. So we'll go in that order first. So Dale first, and then you, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My thoughts are complex, so I have reduced it to writing, and I will read it, and my statement will be available to the staff for our records. Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, in October of 2020, after the Calhoun statue was taken down by City Council without consulting this commission, we unanimously passed a resolution. With 11 whereases, we reminded the mayor and the City Council of the purposes and value of the Commission on History. I commend Mayor Tecklenburg for taking our resolution to heart and for bringing the commission the question of John C. Calhoun's part in the next chapter of Charleston's history. Let's recall why Calhoun was on Charleston's public square. It's undeniable that he contributed greatly as an elected government official and left a multifaceted legacy. He was honored there for respectable characteristics and laudable contributions. One of his traits, though, was strong racial bias. He showed diametric contradiction to the precepts, of human equality claimed in our founding documents. In that contradiction, his 19th century company was Legion. His likeness was not put on Marion Square because of his position on slavery. It was not placed there because of his views of racial inequality, but for those reasons, his likeness was taken down. Seen today, he was a horrible example for racial relations. Espousing his view of race so clearly, in fact, revealed his fault. But this has come to light over the ensuing many decades as American civil rights have matured. He has been convicted solely for the dark aspect of his multifaceted legacy. His memory has been punished acutely by being removed literally from the public square. The statue was removed from public view because he was a racist. Now someone wants to take him across 9 state lines in 3 time zones to display him in public as a racist. The Calhoun statue is not a spoil of war. The remaining light of honor and respect should not be extinguished by subjecting Calhoun to further ridicule in the form of a distant or traveling show. A show that is designed, in the applicant's words, to decontextualize and recontextualize the Confederate monument in the wake of recent white supremacist extremism and anti-racist activism. It wants to confront and challenge long-held beliefs about the real people behind these inanimate objects. Any benefit of removing that statue has already been enjoyed, or any defamation has already been inflicted. Charleston's dignity has been harmed and will be further impacted if Calhoun's statue is displayed for the goals of this proposed loan. Don't further indict him or defame the state. Don't remove the statue from a hiding place created out of an imposed disgrace and cast the man into a realm of perpetual criticism. Because when you do, you will further disgrace and defame our hometown and state. While you subject Calhoun to further ridicule, you will bring the same to your state's culture in ways far beyond what is warranted by the imperfection of Calhoun's character. By a vote, this commission politely asked LaxArt to further explain its intentions of assessing Calhoun as art. That was a decent thing to do since Charleston's mayor asked the commission for advice on this unsolicited proposal, and most members want to be thorough in their assessment of the proposal. For those commissioners who have an appreciation and curiosity about art, you've looked over the material submitted by LaxArt. What is its approach to art appreciation? Set aside the potential social and political benefits or added trouble this loan might cause. If this is about art education, where is the plan to analyze or interpret the statue itself? Where is the appreciation for the technique or talent of the sculptor or the technical aspects of molding bronze in the late 19th century? Will this project enlighten us on the 1887 or 1896 pedestals and columns? To understand art, will it ask to inspect the bronze palmetto trees, plaques, ribbons, and laurel wreath that adorn the monument? If it's a social impact study, will it document the craftsmanship of the workforce that constructed the moral foundation and the granite base? Will it ask if any of these craftsmen were former enslaved men or their descendants? Were they progenitors of Charlestonians today? Will there be a professional poll of our community to measure the social or political effects of the statue's removal or the monument's destruction? Although many intentions are honorable and professionals are involved, we can't know the consequences of a loan by which Charleston loses control. Now is not the time, and LaxArt's proposal is not the means to have the statue placed before the world for its assessment, criticism, and likely further unwarranted conviction. But more important than the LaxArt proposal, Charleston and the concerned community have not asked ourselves by what metrics we want to evaluate the man or the statue or the recent treatment of the statue. A 21st century appraisal of one of South Carolina's favorite 19th century sons has not been pursued. Charleston has not sought proposals for historic or artistic or societal interpretation. If there is value in the intended scholarly evaluation by a named USC history professor, then let that evaluation be an aspect of the 21st century appraisal developed in South Carolina. No one has considered how to decide to whom or how to land or display the statue. This commission has no guidance in how to judge Laxart or other proposals against standards deemed appropriate for our community and our future. It's not ours to factor in, but there may be legal reason not to lend the statue. What legal effect would it have when City Council making this loan confirms the Calhoun statue and monument are Confederate? Charleston and South Carolina have not performed an introspection per John C. Calhoun. We have not fully dealt with the in-state disruption leading up to or caused by removal of the statue and monument. The statue was taken down by a few to appease the problem of racial discord. With it came misunderstanding and disdain for Southern culture. We should not allow or endure added discord or disdain. Display of the statue without a homegrown resolution of the factors that brought it down would bring further criticism and shame to Charleston. Calhoun's place in history in the 19th century erection of his statue and its 21st century removal have many facets. For us as commissioners, though, it will come down to a single vote to advise City Council to accept or reject this loan request. When dissolving itself in 1898, the Ladies Monument Association honestly believed they had protected the Calhoun Monument in perpetuity. That is when, as a sacred trust, the City Council of Charleston accepted the honor and responsibility of custody, care, and control of the statue and of the now destroyed monument. Mr. Chairman, I will vote to disapprove of advising City Council to lend the John C. Calhoun statue in a way that would allow further loss of its custody, care, and control, or further loss of Charleston's dignity. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dale. You're always articulate. And again, if you could send those comments into us, it'd make transcription a whole lot easier. David, next. Thank you.
Yeah,
David.
that's a hard act to follow. So I'll do my best. I also have written my response as well in order to make sure it's clear and there won't be a lot of ums and maybes and stuff in it. So first, I would wish to thank the folks from California for providing additional information as requested at our last meeting. However, nothing in the material provided convinces me that we should allow them to borrow the Calhoun statue. In fact, what they sent reinforces my view expressed last month that the exhibition will be an agenda-based polemic designed to diminish the achievements of all of the individuals represented by the various statues and to denigrate their historical legacy by a myopic focus on race and slavery, Calhoun included. Throughout the time I have served on this commission, we have worked diligently to carefully examine each proposal for a new monument or new plaque to ensure both historical accuracy and well-written prose. We have been particularly careful about excluding any editorializing language. We have also sought to expand the process to include many individuals and events previously omitted in order to broaden the city's historical knowledge. What we have never done, however, is jeopardize our position as honest brokers of Charleston's history by lending our support and therefore our credibility to any individual or group whose proposal was based on a political or ideological agenda. But that is exactly what we are being asked to do today. In my opinion, we should continue our apolitical approach with regard to proposals. In doing so, we would not only maintain the integrity of the commission, but we would also prove that we are faithful stewards of the city as expressed in its motto. She guards her temples, customs, and laws. I hope a majority of the commission will agree and join me in voting to deny this particular request. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Again, are there other comments from people? I'm going back and forth to two screens. Does anyone else have anything? Mickey, okay, please.
Yes. Well, I do want to say that previous speeches were very nice, but I do totally disagree with you. I want to read something from Denmark Vesey's Garden, the book, at the very end of it. And I'm going to quote from the paragraph. In his stirring eulogy to Reverend Clement Pickney in 2015, President Barack Obama predicted that the saving grace of the Emmanuel massacre might be, this is in quotes, an honest accounting of America's history. And I think that far too long, there just really hasn't been an honest accounting of America's history. You cannot, I understand that Calhoun was vice president twice, and he was a very loyal person to the South, but you cannot just hide the fact that this man was responsible for the deaths of thousands and thousands of African-American people. And I don't care what he did, you just can't make him a wonderful person because he is responsible for the deaths and torture of these people, and you can't hide it. And it's the truth. And our job on this History Commission is to be truthful to all people. And that's all I want to say.
Well, thanks, Mickey. I think the first hand I see up is Angela.
So again, thank you, Mr. Walker and Ms. Bernstein, for the information today. I will say to the other commissioners that I believe very strongly in the power of museums. The sheer fact that this work is going to be potentially displayed in a museum and in the context of what a museum can provide with regards to scholarship and interpretation, in my mind, actually elevates the importance of the piece, much like other works that are housed or showcased in museum settings. We do look at museums as the holders of material that is important and should live in perpetuity. That's what we are all about, is perpetuity. So the opportunity to have this work as part of a major traveling exhibition that includes 2 prestigious institutions, plus a list of scholars and a list of incredible artists, because I looked up every single one, that will be part of it from a contemporary art perspective, and allow thousands and thousands of people to see it over the course of time, I think is extremely important and will create the kind of conversation that you all are yearning for with regards to this object, because let us remember, it is an object. So I appreciate the proposals and what everyone has said, but please keep in mind that these are scholarly institutions, and they will do their best to create the very best interpretations that they can.
Thank you, Angela. So I think the next hand that I see up is Michael Allen's.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, again, a few minutes ago, I joined with the other councilman and second the motion for us to move forward. In my previous conversation, I referenced to you December of 1860, and you were so gracious to flower that out by letting the folks know on the call and with us that December the 20th, 1860 was the day of secession. And on that day, there was lots of debate in terms of maybe pro and con. But at the end of the day, that decision was made, which cast our nation into a civil war. The seeds of that war, in many respects, were planted by the gentleman that we're discussing here tonight. I think it's incumbent upon us, as Angela has said, as one who has labored in the vineyard of museums for many years as I have. We understand the power of museums, exhibits, displays, and exhibits. And often these museums can be places of healing, of restoration, of learning, and of experience. And so it's to that angle that I again stand firmly behind the decision to recommend to the City Council that they move forward with this endeavor. Here is the reality. We live as a result of the residue of this conversation that we are having here on a daily basis. As historians, most of us understand that and can respect that, but most Americans may not understand the dynamics which they live in as a result of maybe words that came from Mr. Calhoun's mouth. But we, as the City of Charleston History Commission, have an opportunity to bring this voice to light, to take it from the dark place, the sunken place, but to put it in a place where it will be joined by others that were placed there in the late 1800s, early 1900s for the same mission and the same purpose. It's to that end that I think that we have to move forward. And I will repeat again, this is not about saving anyone's reputation, their grace, or any other thing about them. It's about telling a truth. You know, after apartheid ended in South Africa, there was at least a race and reconciliation conversation that was held throughout the nation to bring that tormented nation together. Unfortunately, we have not had that conversation here in America, in South Carolina, or here in Charleston as well. So perhaps our discussion here tonight is an opportunity to bring something that's long overdue. Here's another reality. Since the statue has been taken down, it was many of our thoughts that the State Museum would take it, that the City Museum would take it. Well, that has not come to light. And I'm not sure where the city has it locked up for security reasons, not being able to see the light of day. But gracefully, the good folks from Los Angeles said, we have a home, we have a place, we have an opportunity to share this history and to bring it in context with other such monuments that were erected during that same time. So again, to those who may see this differently, I understand and I respect, but for those who want to move forward in the light of day, I think the discussion has brought us to a place where we need to move forward and to vote affirmatively to support the efforts of our brothers and sisters and our friends in Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And I want to make sure that no one else has got their hand up other than Robert. I just want to try. I'm going back and forth, Robert. So if you bear with me a second. I don't see another hand up, Robert. So you've got the floor.
Last word.
Well, first, let me say this. I think this is a very emotional issue. And I would like to respond to a couple of things. And then I want to offer an amendment to the motion. First, I had asked that the meeting be delayed so I could take a look at some of the historians in the bibliography. And, you know, for whatever reason, that the commission voted not to extend that time. So I really haven't had the opportunity to, you know, immerse myself in the literature. But I will say this, prior to this matter even coming before the commission, I had read Thomas Brown's book, Civil War Canon. And the reason I recommended it and the reason I sent copies to the commissioners is it's a very balanced, fair-minded, scholarly work by a professor at the University of South Carolina. It's published by the University of North Carolina Press. And I don't want to go, we don't have the time to get into the whole history of the Calhoun Monument, but, you know, Michael just said, what a lot of people believe is that the Calhoun Monument was a monument to the lost cause and all. And of course, that is not true. And the history of the Calhoun Monument, and we don't have enough time to really debate the history of it, but the point I guess Brown makes in his very carefully researched book is that the beginning of the monument is in 1850. There was no lost cause because the Civil War hadn't been fought yet. And the monument really would have been built before the Civil War ever started, but for a variety of reasons wasn't. And then there was a monument put up in the 1880s. And when it was dedicated, the whole theme of the monument was national unity, not the lost cause. And then in 1896, when the second monument was removed, there was no dedication and there was no talk of the lost cause. So the truth of the matter is that if a true history of the Calhoun Monument, forget Calhoun. Calhoun is a very polarizing figure. I'm not here to defend John C. Calhoun, but the history of the monument itself is actually very, very interesting. And if properly told, it actually refutes the whole lost cause monument debate. In other words, the monument in 1896 was put up without any fanfare, without any discussion of the lost cause. So the reason I recommended Brown is because unlike some of these other historians in this bibliography, and I'll mention one in a minute, he actually explains the true and accurate history of it. So I agree with David that our goal is to tell the truth, and I agree with Mickey. I think that our job always has been to tell the true story, and I think that the proponents, the people who are asking us for permission, have written us a letter, which, Mr. Chairman, I would like to enter into the minutes. I guess I'll read it, but the letter was addressed to you. Hello, Harlan. I wanted to reach out with a few updates to our proposal. So this is actually now the amended proposal of Laxart. In our December 5th proposal, we provided a wish list of potential scholars. We're delighted to confirm that Thomas J. Brown has agreed to write about the John C. Calhoun Monument. Dr. Brown is a distinguished professor at the University of South Carolina who has written extensively about the Calhoun Monument. It is the most extensive treatment of the monument I know of, modern treatment. Most notably in his 2015 book, Civil War Canon Sites of Confederate Memory in South Carolina. In reading the Post and Courier staff editorial for this weekend, I realized that we perhaps had not made clear our willingness to work with the commission on exhibition text. We're more than happy to give the commission final approval of the text that will be displayed alongside the statute and can discuss this in further detail on Wednesday. Best, Hannah Burstein, project manager. So I believe the applicant themselves have agreed that Mr. Brown would be somebody that I think we can agree is not going to be polemical, is not going to be ideological. Now, I didn't have time, as I said, to read all these histories, but I did read one, Karen Cox, No Common Ground. And of course, you know, she incorrectly and sort of superficially discusses the Calhoun Monument. And the title of the book says it all, No Common Ground, which, you know, in other words, David's concern, and I think other people's concerns, is we don't want ideological, political, and a polemical discussion. What we want is accurate history and telling the truth. And so I think that bibliography is very worrisome about some of the historians. So I am going to move at this time to amend the motion to say that should the commission approve this request, that one, the Calhoun statute itself and those involved in its history, both its supporters and its opponents, be treated accurately and respectfully, and that any narrative or official publication about the monument be written by Dr. Thomas Brown, who the applicant says they have vetted and they're proposing to use him. So that's my amendment. My amendment would be that if we're going to approve this, then let's agree to accept what I think the very gracious offer of the applicant is, which is that they will have a narrative by a distinguished historian at the University of South Carolina, and that they will give final approval of the text to the commission. And I think that satisfies a lot of the objections of the people who oppose it. So that is my motion to amend the motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman?
And
Mr. Chairman?
yes, Wilmot, and I thought, and again, forgive me if I don't know the fine nuances of parliamentary procedure, but I'm assuming that since you brought up that proposal, it is, but go ahead and speak. I don't know if that's what you
Point
want.
of order. I can't, in good conscience, accept the amendment to my motion proposed by Mr. Rosen. I feel that we've duly considered this question, that a voluminous amount of information has been presented to us about how this exhibition is going to be built and constructed, the care that will be given to the art object itself, the background information associated with the narrative. I think the curators have bent over backward to facilitate an even and scholarly discussion of the Calhoun monument in historical context. Calhoun is by definition a lightning rod. He is by definition a controversial figure. He made his stand. It failed and resulted in the deaths of many, many people. The statue was taken down for good reason by the city of Charleston. It will never be resurrected in the form that in which it previously existed. It is something, it was an object of a program because he was a man who preached a program in violation of religion, principles of human equality that go back to before biblical times. And he practiced in his own life a very cruel form of existence that he attempted to impose on other people that could not stand. Many people died and suffered as a result of his action, and attempts to apologize for him today will not meet the test of history. We know who he was, and thank God those ideas are well on the way to permanent burial and defeat. We need to move forward as a country, as a city, and we can do that by examining in detail the kinds of ideas he proposed and the kinds of ideas people who were associated with him, his contemporaries, people who came later, were able to bring forward. We know what happened. There are articles in this morning's paper about the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments to the Constitution and how they added to the rights, the fundamental rights of Americans that were first stated in the Bill of Rights. We are trying to make a better country, not a country that is less, that is more repressive, but that expands freedom, that does not attempt to contract it. So I'm hoping that we can move forward promptly with sending this matter to council with our approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilmot. I know that so the amendment is not, motion is not to be amended according to and Robert, that will not stop you from making another motion should this be.
Well, Mr. Chairman, let me, a point of order.
Yes, sir, but also to Mr. Walker also had his hand up as well. And go ahead, Robert.
Well, I think if I make a motion to amend
I have to accept.
and someone seconds it, I'm entitled to a vote. And then the commission can vote to amend the motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Yes.
this is Councilman Mitchell. If someone makes an amendment motion, the person who made the original motion would have to accept that amendment motion.
That's what I believe so too, sir. And again, my grasp of parliamentary procedure is not perfect. That is my understanding as well too. And can Jennifer Cook, Clerk of Council, weigh in on that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if the amendment is not accepted, it does have to be voted on by the commission. But I believe there's just a motion on the floor. There was no second.
You mean
Michael Allen, second.
Robert's amendment? Is that what you're?
The second to Commissioner Rosen's motion. We don't have a second to that motion to amend.
Right. It's okay. So that's parliamentary procedure. So I'll ask, is there a second to Robert's motion?
I'll second it just for fun.
So was that?
I'm sorry, I'm confused because I thought that Councilmember Mitchell said that the person who made the original motion had to accept the amendment, and Dr. Fraser just turned it down.
Exactly right.
And so
Yes.
Jennifer, is that correct?
If the original commissioner who made the motion does not accept the amendment is then voted on by the commission
Separately.
So the only thing you're voting on is whether or not to amend the original motion. You're not actually voting to approve it as amended. You're just voting on that amendment only.
Okay, so to make clear, thank you for that. Vote for the amendment before we actually vote for the motion that the original motion.
Correct.
Correct. Mr. Chairman.
You're muted.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make a statement. I wasn't going to say nothing. I sit here because it's going to come to council anyway. And this council going to have to go through and vote on it. But, you know, sitting here and listening, and I thought in my lifetime, I would come to see people come together and stop with the foolishness. You know, the statue is a statue. That's not a human being so far as I'm concerned. We are here to deal with human beings, people who are living here today. So if the statue is there and we are telling a story, a true story, we all say we want to tell things that's true. Why are we going through all this foolishness and talking about something that happened 150 years ago, wherever it was, when it's the statute to tell the truth of what's happening? We always states that we want to be truthful in everything we do. We want to be transparent, but that's not what I'm seeing here today on this commission. And that's why sometimes you see me don't attend these meetings. I came a long way in Charleston in my lifetime, my 73 years. I know what happened in my 73 years since I was here. The things I went through in my 73 years, and people are still going through it today. And that's history so far as I'm concerned. So if the truth is going to be told, let's tell the truth and let it fall where it may and stop with the foolishness. But, we don't want to send a statue here because it's not going to tell the true story, or because he was this or he was that. He is dead. He is gone. This is only a statue that we are concerned about, that we are moving to someone else who's going to tell a true story. So far as a museum is concerned, that's where it should be held, in a museum, where it's going to. So I said, people needs to be people and stop with all this carrying on about all these things about what he was and that's not here nor there. He's not here anymore. But the truth story is what happened. People, most of you all didn't go through what council went through even when the statute came down. None of you all that people was coming to you, at us, telling us what they was going to do to us, what they're going to kill us and all these kind of things. You all didn't go through that. We went through it as council members. But I know what the statute was about. My mother and father is gone. They told me about it. My grandfather and grandparents told me about it way back when. It's older than everybody that's on this line today. But we have to be a people, as we say, we are in Charleston, we are Charlestonian. We are here to tell the truth. That's why this commission was right here is right now to tell the true story about everything that's happening. True story. Not trying to put things better than it is. True story. So when are we going to get to that, the true story, and stop without trying to always pave something differently than the way it is? I'm seeing this, and it kind of get to me from whence I came, and I love everyone. I work with everyone. But people are still sitting down with that mentality, if you may, to the side, and still doing other things on the side, throwing bricks like the old people saying and hiding their hands. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do things like that. It's a museum that's going to. We are not giving the statue away. It's coming back to us. But it's going to tell a story wherever it's going to go. And that's all I want to say about that. We need to come together and stop with all this going on. It's just going to be sickening. People are looking at us and wondering what's going on with us sometimes.
Thank you, sir. So as I hope, Jennifer, you'll guide me through parliamentary procedure. As I understand, unless someone else has something to say, we are going to vote on the amendment that Robert Rosen stated. And Robert, the amendment would be that if it does pass, that it passes with the caveat that a particular scholar is used for the essay, and that we have say so over the text for the statute. Does that sum up?
Well, really, Mr. Chairman, my amendment is really just to accept the letter which the proponents sent us. They said that they are amending.
Then honestly, I don't see the point of the amendment. It's already part of the proposal.
Well,
so can we not move on?
Well, I want the letter. I'm concerned, and I understand Mr. Mitchell, and I understand what he's saying, but the point of the matter is we do want the truth, and the truth is sometimes hard to get to. So I'm simply asking the commission to accept the proponent's proposal as amended by their letter. I don't know how anyone can
Robert, and I believe those are the 2 points that were mentioned in the letter. One, that there is a particular scholar used to write the essay, and 2, that we have the ability to find approval on the text.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. Motion for more definite statement. If Mr. Rosen wishes to offer an amendment that we have to vote on, please ask him to state it clearly so we know what that motion is.
Well, I did, but I'm happy to state it again, that we accept as an amendment to your motion, we accept the letter written by.
As I said, I've already, I do not accept I don't accept an amendment to your amendment to my motion.
I know that.
If you make an amendment, please state the terms of that amendment so that I understand clearly what they are. Thank you.
All right. I'm happy to say it again, that the Calhoun statute itself and those involved in its history be treated accurately and respectfully, and that we accept the letter written by Hannah Burstein as part of your motion, that they will use Thomas Brown, who they say has agreed to write the narrative, and that they are more than happy to give the commission final approval of the text that will be displayed alongside the statute. I don't know why you would object to that. The proponents themselves have written the letter. So that's my amendment.
Well, if they've written a letter accepting those terms, there's no need for a motion. We're talking
Correct.
about forwarding the matter to city council, not what the terms are.
Right. Forgive me, but I want to follow parliamentary procedure so that nothing will, so once we do vote, that no one will call this, what our decision into question. So I'm going to ask Jennifer again. So we are now voting on, Jennifer, am I correct? Just to see if we want to add Robert Rosen's amendment to Wilmot Fraser's original resolution. Is that correct, Jennifer?
Yes, that's correct. And Mr. Chairman,
Call the vote.
if you'd like, I can do a roll call vote.
That would be great. That would be.
So, Commissioner.
So now
go
ahead.
I'm sorry.
I was just, if you want
Who's
to,
got the dog barking?
I'm sorry, that's me. And that's, that's why I keep muting myself. I apologize. But of course, everyone wants to have their voice heard at this moment. So I'm sorry that hers is the loudest, which is why I keep muting myself. But anyway, so we feel, Jennifer, so we know the motion before it, the amendment before it. If you want to call the roll call, I would be very happy for that.
Yes, sir. So commission members, when I call your name, if you could indicate whether or not you are voting in favor of the motion by saying aye, or if you're opposed to it, please say nay. Angela Mack.
No.
Dale Thieling. Dale Thieling, you're on mute.
You're muted, Dale.
Yes.
David McCormick.
Yes.
Peg Eastman.
Peg, you got on mute.
Peg Eastman.
She's got to unmute.
And Peg, the mute button is probably at the left-hand corner of your screen.
I think you're on mute.
Right,
She
Peg,
has-
you've done it. You're here, you're here, Peg.
Sorry?
Are
We
you
can hear you.
voting? Are you-
Yes,
How are you voting?
yes,
Michael Allen,
No.
Mickey Rosenblum,
No.
Nicholas Butler,
No.
Robert Rosen,
Yes.
Wilmot Fraser,
No.
Councilmember Mitchell,
No.
Chairman Green,
No,
and I believe Damon Fordham and Harry Griffin are not on the meeting. Is that correct? Are they joining by phone? The motion fails.
so now as point of order, can we proceed with the initial resolution or motion of Wilmot Fraser?
Yes.
And so Jennifer, would you call the roll again?
Yes, sir. Angela Mack,
Yes.
Dale Thieling,
No.
David McCormick,
No.
Peg Eastman,
no,
Michael Allen,
Yes.
Mickey Rosenblum,
Yes.
Nicholas Butler,
Yes.
Robert Rosen,
No.
Wilmot Fraser,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Chairman Green.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Well, and again, I apologize for my barking dog, but I thank you all for this.
Council member, I'm sorry, Chairman Green, may I just
ma'am.
add one more book to the roster of books that Mr. Walker and Ms. Bernstein have listed? You may also want to consult a book by Dr. Maury McGinnis, who wrote a wonderful book entitled The Politics of Taste in Antebellum Charleston. It was published by UNC Press in 2005. And it's an excellent, excellent book and has several pages on the Calhoun Monument.
And if I can follow up.
Thank you.
And I can follow up on something we said in the first meeting. The information on Ada Clare and her role in stealing the original money that most scholars haven't discovered is by Gloria Goldblatt, and it's only available online at a university PAF seller, PFAFF seller. She does footnote it, and that's the other source of that particular story about the monument. So, and again, I apologize for the barking dog. Is there any new business?
One other footnote, Harlan, to the curators. There is a book by Gail Lumet called The Black Calhouns. Interesting that the great Lena Horne was a member of the Calhoun family. And since this is sacred,
We've lost you, Wilmot. Is that all you had to say? You're muted. You're muted, Wilmot. If that's the Black Calhouns, if that's the only book you want to add, that's fine.
that was the only other item I wanted to add. Thank you.
Okay, so no more new business. So I want to thank you all. I know it's been a difficult decision for many people. I've never doubted people's passions or beliefs, but I hope we can move forward. And it's always been with this group that majority rules, but ultimately it's the city council that's going to decide for this. And can we have a motion for adjournment?
Adjournment, please.
Second.
My dog is barking. Yes, too.
Second.
Oh, okay. So I assume there's no discussion. So thank you all very much. We have that move. I thank the city staff
Good
for
luck.
all. Thanks,
Good luck,
everyone.
Mr. Walker.
Okay.
Yes,
Good
be
luck to you all,
careful what you
guys.
wish for. Right.